Australian Open, my favorite tournament since 2017. If you know what I mean, every life I even make it. Yeah, Joker's gonna break it. There's only one champion now. When I wake up 4 in the morning, it's Australian time in the US. Watch out for Sissy Pass and Sasha Zverev and Grigor Dimitrov. No, I'm just kidding. Women's draw now. Serena Williams and Wozniacki. One of them's got no chance. The men's final. Federer versus Djokovic. Who would win that match? Comment down below. Thanks for the comments and watching my show. It's gonna be a good year for Mr. Goat. Oh boy, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. We're gonna do the first show of the year with the biggest, I don't know if you can see on the camera how thick this is. This is the biggest pile of news we've ever had on the show. I mean, we got 2 whole draws here. Today on Coffee Break Tennis, we kick the year off with, of course, both draws, men's and women's, for the 2019 Australian Open. Of course, we're going to talk about what 1% of you are dying to hear about. Of course, is sad news. Andy Murray is going to be retiring very soon and not on his own terms. We'll talk about that a little bit. Is this the end of the Big Four? Andy Murray announcing that he's going to retire. Does this signal the end? Lots of journalists think so. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the latest tennis news, mainly, talk about players who are expected to do great things in the draw and what we actually expect to happen to them. All that and much, much more on Coffee Break Tennis. Well, this is the Happy Slam for many of us, the favorite tournament of the year. Not so happy for Andy Murray. Obviously, I'm sure all of you have heard by now, Andy Murray said this may be his last tournament ever, but he would like to try to make it to Wimbledon. Of course, that's 4 or 5 months away, so that might be harder than he can handle. He's got Roberto Bautista Agut in the first round, so that's the guy who beat Djokovic a week or two ago, so that's going to be pretty tough for Andy Murray to overcome. But the writing was on the wall on January 9th. This is Eurosport, Michael Hinks. Should we be worried about Andy Murray? The Australian Open first round could provide us the answer. Of course, we get the answer a little early. A practice match with Novak Djokovic proved to be a sobering affair for Andy Murray in Melbourne. Is this the beginning of the end for the former world number 1? Trailing 6-1, 4-1, and having held serve only once in their friendly warm-up match, Andy Murray, 5-time losing Australian Open finalist, apologized to a supporter on Instagram following the encounter, saying, "I'm sorry I couldn't be more entertaining today." He went on to offer her free tickets to his first-round match with Roberto Bautista Agut. Stuart Fraser of the Times said it was tough and sad to watch. Andy Murray's movement, even worse, he said, than it was at the U.S. Open last year. Obviously, this is an older article, but like I said, it was pretty obvious to some people that something bad was coming from the Murray camp. One story down. So this leads me to get into what we talked about at the beginning of the show, what we teased at the beginning of the show. Is this the end of the Big Four? Is this the beginning of the end? Now, first, we have to say and agree that there is a Big Four. Monica Kiao said on Instagram, by the way, you can follow me at Coffee Break Tennis on Instagram. Let me correct this. There is no Big Four. It's the Big Three. If we put Murray up there, then you need to put Stan up there. They've both won 3 slams and challenged the top 3. Some say he was unlucky and that if the other 3 weren't there, he would have easily won more slams, but that only proves that he is in a different league to the other 3. That is a great point from Monica Kiao. I almost agree with everything Monica says most of the time, but this one, I don't think... I agree with what she says. That's proof, the fact that, because so many people can say, oh, if it wasn't for Roger, Rafa, and Novak, Andy Murray would have double-digit slams. Yeah, you could say that, But as Monica pointed out, it's kind of proof that he is not in the same league as those three guys. But he challenged them maybe better than anyone else. I mean, his majors, he did have to win against Novak Djokovic in two of them. Maybe got a little lucky that he faced Milos Raonic instead of Roger Federer in the, was that 2016? Yeah, 2016 Wimbledon. But we got to say, he challenged and defeated Novak Djokovic in two finals, a 2012 U.S. Open, and I think 2013 Wimbledon, I think, is Murray's other. Of course, he was in the Australian Open final 5 freaking times. If you look at Stan the man, he has 5, not counting when he goes to the final and wins or loses. He has 5 semifinal appearances, I believe. He has maybe 6 quarterfinal appearances, whereas Andy Murray, again, not counting semifinals on the way to a final, Andy Murray has 10 semifinals appearances, I think. I think he's double Stan, and he has more quarterfinal appearances. He was in a quarterfinal in 2008, I think was his first one. Definitely, he was in the U.S. Open 2008 final, losing to Roger Federer. That's way before Stan Wawrinka. I think Stan Wawrinka, the first time he even made it to a quarterfinal, might have been 2010, and they're about the same age. So Andy Murray clearly was able to break through sooner than Stan Wawrinka. He only won 3 majors. That's the same number, but he had 11 major finals. So I would disagree with Monica in that Andy Murray overall, if we look away from winning 3 finals, he made way more finals. Stan has 4, Murray has 11. He made more semis, made more quarters, he won more Masters. Andy Murray showed up and just did better at every tournament throughout the year for his entire career than anyone outside of those big 3 guys. But I have also said myself in the past that it's a little unfair to say they're the big 4 as if Andy Murray, I mean, he's a distant 4th in that big 4, but he did help keep an entire generation. The big 4, they kept an entire generation, the lost generation, the Milos Raonics and the Grigor Dimitrovs. The big 4 completely shut them out from having access to the majors, right? None of them could break through. And Andy Murray was a part. He was one of the players that kept them shut out, right? Milos Raonic, he could have got a major. He's from the Grigor Dimitrov generation. He could have had his chance 2016, and when Djokovic, Nadal, Federer weren't able to do it, Andy Murray stepped up to keep, I believe, 51 of the last 62 majors have gone to Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, Andy Murray. So that's all we'll say about Andy Murray today. If we have time, maybe we'll do it after the Australian Open. Maybe we'll do it during. Maybe we'll talk more about Andy Murray's body of work and go over his career and really make a case for whether or not he belongs in that big 4 classification, whether or not he belongs with Roger Rafa Novak. So, this was from the NewYorkPost.com, nypost.com, written by some feller named, it's not on here. How Roger Federer wants to retire from tennis. Now, I have this theory that Rafa, Novak, Roger, they see what happened, what's happening right now to Andy Murray, and they have to think something about it. They have to be a little afraid. I thought of something. This is awful, but it's funny. But it's awful. I thought of, it's kind of like maybe when Gaddafi, the dictator of Libya, when he was overthrown in 2013, somewhere around there, 2012, or I don't know. When he was overthrown, you had to think someone like a Bashar Assad over in Syria, another from the dictator club, had to be a little afraid, what if that happens to me? Right? When Saddam Hussein got found in that hole, remember, Saddam Hussein literally buried himself in the desert to hide. When they dug him up, and we all know what happened to him, that had to scare some other dictators, maybe some Kim Jong-un types out there. Now, again, this is a horrible comparison, but you could argue Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, they are kind of tyrants in the sport. They do win everything and oppress the other tennis players from, oh my God, this is ridiculous. They have to see this and be a little afraid, what if that happens to one of us? So this article kind of got me thinking about that. Federer knows how he wants his career to end. In an interview with the CNN, 37-year-old tennis great spoke on how he envisions writing his final chapter. I hope it doesn't end with an injury. I'd like to go out on my own terms. The Swede, holy shnikes, are you kidding me? Did they just grab this from CNN and they messed it up? Or is this nypost.com? The Swede, who dealt with back issues in 2013 and a freak knee injury in 2016 that led to surgery, saw fellow star Andrew Murray, 31, announce his plans to retire this season because of the effect his injuries are having on him. Federer hopes that won't happen to him, but he doesn't have his heart set on a grand exit either. Of course he does. The noteworthy thing from this article, as we crumple it up and hit it with a weak overhead, a soft overhead, a little exhibition overhead. The main point there was Roger said he could have retired 2017 Australian Open right there after he beat Nadal in the epic final. Was I going to do that? Get rid of the fingers. Federer said he could have retired right then because he said that's as good as it will ever get for him. Probably true. Comment below. It's funny. In the song that we started the show off with today, which of course is the 90s classic from Hole, Celebrity Skin, redone for Australian Open 2019 version by me. In the song, I said, what do you think would happen in a Federer-Djokovic final this year at the Australian Open? Comment down below. If Federer somehow beat Djokovic in the final here and won 3 Australian Opens in a row, is that bigger than what he did to Rafa 2 years ago? It's a good question, I think. So let's look at some of these freaking headlines. Does Andy Murray's retirement signal the beginning of the end of the Big Four by Veronica Elizabeth Bruneau? That's from fansided.com. How about this one? Reuters, Djokovic favorite as Big Four take their final bow. That's from Ian Ransom. Fox Sports, which is the one we're going to hone in on because I find this one particularly irksome. Tennis's next gen, the emerging stars set to dismantle the Big Four. Like I said, this one's particularly irksome. So this is from the printer jumbled everything up. I can't remember this lady's name. Sarah Ollie? It cut half of it off. Bear with me as I try to read this article that has the bottom fourth of every word cut off somehow by my printer. The next generation of tennis stars are here, but now their biggest task is to not just make up the numbers, but dismantle the old brigade to completely disrupt the somewhat predictable narrative of male tennis. This is why I find it so irksome. This is why I'm so annoyed. Since 2004, the so-called Big Four of Roger Federer, Novak Djokovic, Rafa Nadal, and Andrew Murray have won 54 of a possible 60 Grand Slam titles. I was close when I guessed earlier, something like that. And while Das Publikum still holds great affection for these superstars, particularly Federer and Nadal, there's no denying some new blood would help inspire another generation of players and fans alike. Okay, well, yeah, we do need the next generation of fans. That's why we rely on Tsitsipas for that. Old Sisyphus. At number 4 in the world, Sasha Zverev appears the man most likely to take matters into his own hands as long as his hamstring holds up. He suffered a hamstring injury recently. Even more recently than that, he suffered another injury. We'll talk about that next. But even last week at the Hopman Cup, after Federer's Switzerland defeated Zverev's Germany in the final, the 21-year-old jokingly pleaded with Federer to retire. Let us have one, he laughed. While Fed will once again be one of the men to beat at Melbourne Park, number 1 Djokovic will rightfully start as the favorite. Djokovic only lost 3 times in the last 6 months in a frightening run of good form. And of course, she points out that who is his 3 losses to? Tsitsipas, Coric, who is funny because he's been a factor for a while since he was a teenager. He kind of broke through before these other names, so it feels like he's older. But Coric is only 22, same age as Kachenak. So let's just look really quick. This lady, Sarah Ollie, I think her name is. She listed some of the, by the way, Mr. Goat is hanging out over there. I don't know what he's doing. I think he's protesting because he wants to eat something. By the way, Mr. Goat has changed his name. He now wants to be known as the artist formerly known as Mr. Goat. So comment below what you think of That stupid name. Alexander Zverev, Germany, 21 years old, 4th in the world, 10 titles, $15 million in prize money. Kakinak, 22, Russia, 11th in the world, 4 titles, prize money $5 million. Coric, this goes to show you he's been a factor longer than Kakinak. Only 2 titles. Kachanov has 4, but prize money just a little ahead, a little over $5.5 million. Kakinak under Kachanov is I'm just going to call him Kakinak from now on. He's a little under 5.5. He's 22 as well, ranked 12th. And then finally, my favorite. Oh, actually, they threw a couple in non-factors. Well, Medvedev might be a factor. Stefanos Tsitsipas, age 20, from Greece, 15th in the world, 1 big title, baby. 2.9 million. He's almost caught up and a couple years behind Kakinak and Coric. Danny Medvedev, age 22, ranked 16 in the world, 3 titles, almost 3 million. Hyunchung, age 22, 25th in the world, 0 titles, over 3 million. Don't rule out Denis Shapo or Alex the Demon Hour. So, of course, I will ask you to comment below. Tell me what you think. Is it the time? Is it the end? I don't think so. What I think is Greg Ruzetsky, who I have next after. Let's talk about this ankle injury first. I like Tsitsipas, but, I watched on the TV, they're replaying Alex de Minaur, the Demon, playing Andreas Seppi. They're about to go to a tiebreaker. When Seppi beat Tsitsipas, it kind of reminded me, Tsitsipas is barely out of the teenage years. He's 20. As great as he looks, in Hopman Cup, he came closer to beating Federer in the singles than anyone else there did. Put on a better show than Sasha Zverev did. I like everything about the Tsitsipas game, but Seppi, after dropping the first set, managed to beat Tsitsipas in 3 sets and made you kind of wonder, going to this Australian Open, if Tsitsipas runs into a veteran of the game like Andreas Seppi. Of course he will. He's in Rogers' quarter of the draw, so very likely if he's able to get through the first few rounds, we will see Tsitsipas and Federer play. I believe 4th round or quarterfinals. We're about to look at the draw. We'll see then. I don't know if he'll be able to overcome some of the experience in a Grand Slam best out of 5 just yet, but I do have a lot of faith in him. Whereas Sasha Zverev, things are just shaping up for him to disappoint us at the first major of the year. He's been disappointing in all of the majors. He only has 1 quarterfinal appearance. That's the furthest he's ever made it. And we're being told that, of course, he was very impressive at the World Tour Finals. Yes, he was. But now this. Australian Open 2019 injury fears for number 4 seed Alexander Sasha Zverev after going down hurt in a practice match. Zverev suffered his second injury scare of the week, withdrawing from a practice match at Melbourne Park after appearing to hurt his lower leg. He rolled his ankle. And I've rolled my ankle a million times. And you don't want to do that right before the biggest tournament so far of the year. Some guy who was there watching the match tweeted, this is Jed Yetzer, Alexander Zverev goes down hurt in his practice match against Mark Polmans, tried to continue playing, but ended the match 2 points later with some sort of foot injury. If he rolls his ankle, why is anyone thinking it's a foot injury? It's the ankle. Is the ankle part of the foot? Maybe I don't know the medical lingo. It comes after Zverev withdrew from the World Tour Tennis Challenge in Adelaide, telling fans he strained his hamstring while training just hours before his scheduled match. That's 2 injuries during practice. Maybe he should tape up that ankle like Federer does under the socks, under the secret socks. This one came back. So, I asked earlier, do you think it's the time? Is the end near? If anyone's going down soon, I think it's Rafa. Because Andy Murray, he's taken a brutal beat down. That's what his hip just totally gave out on him. He's basically, they're talking about surgeries that, someone who's in their 70s would consider for Andy Murray right now, just to have quality of life, not to be performing at the highest level at the biggest tennis tournaments in the world. We're talking about Andy Murray might have a surgery just so he can walk more comfortably. If anyone is going to be in that position anytime soon, I don't think it's Djokovic. I think Djokovic, who's played a similar game to Andrew Murray, better return, and I think he's lucky. Genetically, he's built better for this. He weighs less. Some of you might think what does that mean, Matt? Well, Novak Djokovic weighs about 10, 15 pounds less than the other members of the Big Four. So that's just less wear and tear on the joints. Djokovic is so flexible. Just the way his body is built, I think he can withstand this playing style a little better. And I think he just moves a little smoother. Djokovic to me looks more like Federer footwork than he does look like Andrew Murray or Rafa Nadal. So I think what Greg Ruzetsky says here, former was he in the U.S. Open or wasn't in the Wimbledon final? I think he was in the U.S. Open final. Greg Ruzetsky, a British tennis player, now pundit, predicts how Roger Federer, Rafa, Novak, Andy Murray will fare in 2019. The interesting thing is during this best part in the last 6 months, the three guys he's lost to is Tsitsipas in Toronto, Kakinak in Paris, and Sasha Zverev in London. So what is Greg Ruzetsky saying, old Greg? Old Greg. I think Novak will be the man to beat at most of the slams. French Open, probably Rafa with his health. Federer, there's still question marks on the second part of his season last year, obviously. Ruzetsky continued, it wasn't the same Federer as the first part of the season, but you can never, ever discount him. But when asked if the hand injury was something serious, remember Roger suffered a hand injury right before Wimbledon that he didn't tell anyone about until much later. Of course you do. You should take that into account. He's saying you can never discount him. Everyone is starting to write him off again, but you do so at your own peril. Yes, he's getting older and the other guys are moving well. He's got to play that sort of lights-out tennis that he did in Australia. The quicker surface does favor him. O2 is a little slower this year. Australia was quick, so we'll know where Roger really is at the Australian Open next year. Never discount the greats. This is from January 7th, but they must be quoting him from, he's talking about next year, so this must have been the end of December. Anyways, he does talk about Sasha Zverev, and he has a good point here. Lindell is a factor. Lindell made me take Sasha Zverev more serious. Zverev with Lindell is the most exciting combination of the youngsters right now. The way he played in that final, the ATP World Tour Finals, was the way he should be playing. When in the offseason with Ivan, he's going to be playing better. The only problem is, though, Roger made Sasha Zverev look like he took a step backwards in Hopman Cup in their singles match in the final. I don't have a lot of faith in Sasha Zverev just yet. Not yet. Without further ado, let's go to the draws. So we'll start with Novak Djokovic on the tippy top. This is my racket bracket challenge. I made some interesting picks that could be way wrong. I'm taking risk. So if I'm ever going to win this thing, what do you get? You win $1 million or something? If I'm ever going to win it, I got to take some risks. But I do have Novak Djokovic going all the way to the final and losing to Roger Federer. Some of my picks, risky, calculated risks. Some of them are crazy. Some of them are just things that I want. But I truly believe that Federer has a good chance here. And as far as court speeds go, there are rumors we have heard from players. And, if you didn't see this, play this clip really quick. Roger Federer was practicing with Kyle Edmund on his birthday. And he hits this winner and says, a happy birthday. And the court looks pretty fast.
Happy birthday.
So we got Novak going up against a qualifier. We probably know who that is by now, but I didn't look it up. Then he could face Marty Klizan or Wilfried Tsonga, who hit this super sweet one-handed backhand winner. Check that out.
Oh. He doesn't have a one-hand backhand, Tsonga. Deserves a high five to the front row for that one.
Now I should point out, that is a rematch of the 2008 Australian Open final, 11 years ago. Djokovic's first major. Wow, at the time, if you would have tried to guess where these guys would be 11 years later, who would have guessed that Novak had done what he did and that Tsonga would do as little as he's done? He's had a decent career, but compared to Djokovic. Djokovic could face El Chapo in the third round. He could face Taro Daniel, the Japanese guy, a smaller guy who beat him at Indian Wells last year when the Djokovic serve was still way off. I think Joker will get through either one of them. In the fourth round, I have David Goffin making it through Danny Medvedev. Maybe that's a dumb choice. Really not sure who to pick with that one. It might be better to go with Medvedev. Either way, though, I think Djokovic beats those guys. They could challenge him. he has an off day. In the quarterfinals, Djokovic seeded to meet Kei Nishikori. Who else could get through? Maybe Cole Schreiber I could see coming through with his experience. Fabio Fognini from Italy. With the Sasha Zverev portion, this would be for the semifinals. I mean, Djokovic has a kind of easy draw. Some people call it a tough draw. Nishikori could be tough, but what about the way Djokovic handled him at the U.S. Open? This court's faster. That could help Nishikori serve, which is always his weakness. So I got Sasha Zverev getting through his first couple rounds, and I have him, maybe this is stupid, but he's got these injuries and stuff. Gil Simon beats Sasha Zverev in the third round. That's what I have here. I got Raonic getting through Stan. I don't see Chung getting past Query because Chung really hasn't done anything since last year at the Australian Open. Raonic, I got... I thought I had Raonic beating Simone, but apparently I didn't pop that in right. I mean, who cares? I think Simon says Gil Simon, I think he's playing better than he had in past years. We get to see him a little bit. And he's the kind of player that Sasha Zverev could lose to because he's going to make him hit 1,000,000 shots and give Sasha a chance for his forehand to break down, for things to go wrong, for his mental side to be a factor. I think things could all fall apart. Or if he's dealing with the hamstring, the ankle, whatever, if he's got some kind of injury thing, maybe he can deal with it for a while. But if you play 5 sets with this Gil Simon and have to hit 1,000,000 shots, 1,000,000 serves, if anything's hurting, it's going to really be hurting by the end of that match. So I said Gil Simon will go through there. That'll get me some big points if that were to happen. What else do we got here? Borna Coric getting through. For some reason, I picked Gil Simon just to have a tournament of his life and make it to the semifinal with Djokovic. Major gamble for me, but that'll put me ahead of everyone in the racket bracket if that comes true. I actually got Misha Zverev coming through Dominic Thiem. I don't remember what tournament was it. Was it Brisbane? I don't know, but Dominic Thiem, he lost like in the first round. Not impressive. It's a faster court. I think I might have some footage. I'll play it for you if I can find it. I remember I recorded it, but don't know where I put it. I might have lost it. Dominic Thiem looked dreadful. Who was he playing? He was playing Herbert with the serve that looks like McEnroe's motion, kind of. Plays a lot of doubles. Herbert was attacking him on the fast court, coming to the net. And Dominic Thiem was trying to play up on the baseline. He was really moving in to the serve return. And he just looked so uncomfortable and off balance. If you've watched his new YouTube channel, we can see Dominic Thiem, who talks like this, doing lots of exercises and working out. He looks super fit, and it meant nothing. That fitness, you can't help you when you look that uncomfortable on the faster surface off of his beloved clay. So I have him losing to Misha Zverev. I actually have Misha Zverev making it one round further. He's going to make it to the 4th round and lose to Borna Coric after his all-German showdown with, is it Maximilian Murderer? Can't remember what his first name is. We go on. I got Tennis Sandgren making it pretty far. Sandgren's playing well. His serve looks good. On a fast court like the Australian Open, we saw what Federer has done with it the last 2 years with his serve. Serve is everything, especially on the faster courts. And Sandgren's serving great. He's got a lot of points to defend here. He looks pretty motivated. I think that he just won a tournament. What did he win? He won Auckland, I think. I was watching the matches. I can't remember. Is it Auckland? ASB Classic or something like that? Got Federer beating Sandgren. I got let's look at Federer's part. So Federer's going to get Dennis Istomin first, then a qualifier, because there's 2 qualifiers playing. So he's definitely going to have a second round qualifier if he gets through Istomin. Federer could face Zoomer, Monfils, who I don't think will make it. Taylor Fritz, I'm always lukewarm on him. Although he has a good serve, he has explosive shots. If he can put it all together for an entire match, he could make it. But again, he plays Cameron Norrie first, who took him out. Was it in Auckland or Brisbane, wherever they played? I watched that match, and it's funny. The commentators were talking a lot about Cameron Norrie doesn't have the weapons of a Taylor Fritz at all. And who was it? Who was commentating that match? Anyways, whoever was commentating that match was saying, I don't know how Cameron Norrie wins these matches. He has no weapons. But he's kind of, he's from Great Britain. He's a little bit like Andy Murray. Of course, Andy Murray has way better weapons than this guy. But he's crafty. He's determined. I like Cameron Norrie to beat Fritz again like he did at whatever tournament. And I like Federer to beat Cameron Norrie again like he did at the Hopman Cup. Then I like Federer to beat Tsitsipas in the round of 16. Tsitsipas has got Berrettini, an Italian guy, Carballes Bena, Basilashvili, who could be a little tricky, but I like Tsitsipas getting to the fourth round to meet Federer. And I think, again, Tsitsipas might take Federer to tie breaks. There might be challenging moments, but Federer should be able to comfortably get through the Tsitsipas. I don't think the 20-year-old's ready for something like that just yet. I got Federer in the quarterfinals with Tennis the Menace Sandgren. And then we get to the semifinals. Now, let's talk about Rafa, because I don't have Rafa making it to the semifinal. One, he had to pull out of the U.S. Open and the Australian Open last year. He had to cancel. He had to not play Cincinnati. He pulled out of Brisbane this year. He pulled out of Brisbane last year. There's just so many signs that Rafa is going to be more of the same on the hard court majors. I don't think he's going to do bad. I think he'll be able to win some rounds, but I think slowly, whatever's bothering him with the body, it's going to become an issue again in the middle of the tournament, just like it did last year. The big thing for me is I don't think he'll make it as far. He lost in the semifinals to Cilic, having to retire mid-match. I don't think he'll get there this time. I think the body is a year older. He's got more little things going on. He had a variety of little things bothering him. He had a minor ankle surgery at the end of last year. I think it was November when he had that done. I just don't see Rafa making it to Roger in the semifinals. If he does, that'd be great. I definitely don't see him winning that match, especially if Roger gets through pretty comfortably. Who do I have coming through? It's our old friend John Isner, and I got the Birdman taking out Rafa in the round of 16. I think if Rafa, first, Jan-Lennard Struff would be Rafa's second round after he gets through the Duck, James Duckworth. That's probably, not so bad for Rafa. He should be able to get through Duckworth, no problem. If he gets through Struffy Struff, no problem. And that could be a problem. Remember, that was a challenge for Roger Federer last year. Struff is good on fast courts. He could play the Demon, Alex de Minaur, they're going to have long, brutal rallies. If something is wrong with Rafa and he's trying to play through it, that is going to be tough. I liked watching Tomas Birdman, who's now a Skull. He switched over to the Hydrogen clothing, still with the Nike shoes. I like the Birdman. I watched him. Where did Birdman play? He lost in the final. Oh, in Qatar, in Doha, the Qatar Classic or the Qatar Open, whatever they call it. Birdman didn't have to play Novak Djokovic. He had to play Bautista Agut, even though he lost that tournament. That's a pretty good first tournament back for the Birdman. Birdman looks really fit, really skinny. I think Birdman might have a little run here, and that's why I have him. I have Nadal somehow getting through Alex de Minaur, but being worn out, and Birdman exploiting the Rafa after Rafa has a tough match with de Minaur. I have John Isner. I have Dimitrov actually winning a couple rounds here, and Isner taking him out in the third. I have Kevin Anderson getting through his section to lose to Isner in a revenge match for John Isner against the big Kevin Anderson after what happened to Wimbledon. Again, that's like a gamble. Who knows? That's a toss-up. I might even lean towards Anderson, who looks really good this year, but I like Isner, so I hope he can do it. And I hope that Isner can beat the Birdman, because if Isner makes it that far, I think Federer will take him out. No problem. So final thing, and we're all out of time. We'll have to look at the women's draw later. I like Ash Barty. I think Serena Williams' draw looks pretty good, actually. I think Wozniacki's going to lose early. I think Simona Halep could lose first round. She plays Kai Kanepi, who's the lady who took her out in the first round at the U.S. Open last year. So that's all we'll say about that. I got some stuff on Nick Kyrgios, getting into it with Leighton Hewitt, who apparently won't watch Nick Kyrgios matches anymore. No surprise there. I think we're all, Nick Kyrgios is out of the top 50 in the world now. I think people are going to write him off in no time. He needs to start winning, and he needs to be a little more classy. Even Bernard Tomic is saying bad stuff about Kyrgios now. I mean, Kyrgios is it's burning bridges, as they say. Let's talk about Djokovic, and then we'll get out of here. Thank you for watching the Draw Show. Sorry we couldn't spend more time with the women's, but we will later. Oh, and of course, really quick, I like Kvitova, who beat Ash Barty in a pretty up and down, crazy match. I think Kvitova, she looks like her and Berdych are on the same diet. They both look like they've lost weight. always good in tennis to have less weight to carry around, especially when you get the power that those two players bring with their serves and their strokes. Djokovic speaks about Australian Open goals and fumes at a journalist. This is right after he lost at the Qatar Open or the Doha Open, whichever one they call it. Novak Djokovic asked about his goal for this month's Australian Open, and Djokovic said, a trophy? What do you think? After this week, I don't deserve to be contender for the trophy? I don't understand that comment, said Joker. It was a tough tournament for me, considering the amount of matches I played, both singles and doubles. Playing with my brother is a pleasure, but also you care a lot playing with him, more than with anybody else, so it took a lot out of me emotionally. I don't think it affected me negatively too much prior to this match. As I said, it was very close to winning the match. A few points decided the winner. He was the one. Batista Agut won the blah, 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 blah. So we get the point. Djokovic smashed his racket after being up a set and a break. Djokovic just furious in that match. So do I think this is a factor? Oh, and I meant to say earlier about Rafa. He's got a new serve motion to flatten the ball out more and get a little more pop, hit more aces. Obviously, this is because the writing's on the wall, like with Gaddafi. Nadal sees what happened to Andy Murray. Nadal knows he needs to move less on the court and finish points quicker to avoid the body breaking down on him. Obviously, there's a lot of signs that there's danger for his body. But my point is, look what happened with Djokovic. He had a altered service motion last year. His was done out of necessity rather than, well, you could argue Rafa's is too. I think this could break down. And, with Rafa, you need to hit spots. That's the most important thing with your serve. A new motion, he might not hit his spots in the biggest moments. It could break down on him. Lots of warning signs. That's why I got him losing to the Birdman. Anyways, back to Djokovic, though. He smashed his racket. He was struggling. He had a tough match with Basilashvili. He had a tough match before that one. He really struggled in Doha. Now, if you watch my 20 slams of Christmas, which, by the way, I have one of them that is pretty much done. We might put that out there, even though it's not Christmas time. We'll do the rest the end of this year during Christmas. We might put that out at the end of the Australian Open because it's 2007 Federer's year in review is a pretty fun piece of tennis history. But as you saw, if you watched the 20 slams of Christmas, you saw how many times Federer would have a shocking result, like when he lost to Andy Murray in Cincinnati, and then goes and wins the U.S. Open, no problem. We see it all the time. We see Rafa lose at one of the last clay court tournaments before the French Open, then win the French Open, no problem. So this doesn't necessarily show us that Djokovic is falling apart and is going to struggle at the Australian Open, but it is not ideal, and it is not like what we see from Roger Federer, which is he is right where he wants to be. He won the Hopman Cup again, which, by the way, comment below what you think. If you haven't heard the news, I wish we had more time. We would get into it. That is the last Hopman Cup ever, it looks like, for the ATP Cup, which I'm not, a lot of people, I don't get it. It's kind of like Davis Cup. It's kind of like Laver Cup. It's confusing, and they got Nick Kyrgios all over the thing promoting it, saying this is going to be great, and I'm so excited. And I don't believe Nick Kyrgios is excited to play anywhere, really, unless he's playing, the biggest names on the biggest stages. But like I said, last Hopman Cup or not, Roger Federer won it last year before winning the Australian Open. The year before he didn't win it, but he got in his necessary matches and found the rhythm going in to win the 2017 Australian Open. And he's won it again this year, feeling great, looking great, playing the best we've seen him play in a while. They say the second half of last year, not so good for Roger. Well, he looked like the first half, Roger, playing at the Hopman Cup this year. I think he's right where he wants to be. There's a new ball. Last word here. Hit the music. We're getting out of here. There is a new ball. Dunlop. Every time I play people in my league matches, you got to supply the balls when you're away or when you're at home. I go on an away match. If they got Dunlop balls, I hate it. Those balls suck. Will that be a factor? I don't know. John, the Milkman Millman, said that these balls really die when it's cold. Well, all balls kind of die and lose speed when it's cold, so that makes me wonder, is it just the ball or is it just the weather? But a lot of people don't know about this new ball. Ash Barty says the ball is great. Will it be a factor? I'll only say, if Roger doesn't like it, Nadal doesn't like the balls in Cincinnati. I've heard him say that. If Roger doesn't like it, it's a factor. Otherwise, as long as it's moving fast, if it's playing fast, if the court is playing faster, as the rumor says, I think Roger Federer is going to win this thing 3 in a row. What an accomplishment that would be at age 37. Comment below what you think about it. We will be doing daily videos during the Australian Open, as we always try to do. I think this year we will be able to deliver on the daily video, so we'll be back after Federer plays his first match Monday. See ya!